What's going on, guys? Welcome to your October 3rd second stimulus check update, stimulus package update, and stimulus news update. Now, here's what I want to go over today. Today I have some really good news. We are moving forward. Now, regarding the second stimulus check, did it already pass? When will I receive it? No, the second stimulus check has not passed yet because it is currently tied to the entire stimulus negotiations. So, the stimulus package has not passed. So as of right now, your stimulus check is not on its way. It's not coming. But I want to give you some good news and explain why it could be coming very soon. In my honest opinion, based on reading all reports, based on listening to some experts, hearing interviews, I am predicting that we will have a stimulus package this week. Yes, I'm predicting it will happen sometime in the next 7 days. That is really good news because last week, there were a couple points throughout the week where we were not sure if a stimulus package was going to get passed, but I am very sure, I'm almost going to guarantee that a stimulus package is going to pass. We are getting very, very close. Now, multiple reports out today have been stating that Nancy Pelosi and Steven Mnuchin are exchanging documents between one another with the language in which they want the bill to be written. Now, this is very good news because Nancy Pelosi has been saying this for about a week. We need to clarify the language. Until they clarify the language and figure out how much funding is going to each person, each area, there's really nothing to be done. Steve Mnuchin and Nancy Pelosi have gone through the process, have negotiated, and it sounds like we're right about at the figure we're going to settle at. Now, I don't know exactly what it's going to be. However, reports are indicating that Democrats are more likely to come down off their $2.2 trillion offer than Republicans are to come up over $2 trillion. So, chances are the bill that actually gets passed is going to be right about $2 trillion. And then most people are predicting anywhere from $1.8 trillion up to $2 trillion. So that is good news for both parties because they're kind of getting what they want. Republicans don't want to go over $2 trillion, and Democrats don't want to go really down to 1.5 or 1.6, which Steve Mnuchin is currently offering. So one of the questions I got from somebody yesterday, and I received another question I think a couple days earlier, was why is the language inside the bill so important? Why is Nancy Pelosi, stressing out on the language? Why don't they figure out the funds, the dollar amount first, and then get into the language? Well, it seems like that's exactly what they did. As of right now, there are a few reports that are saying that we have the number nailed down, but they don't have the language. So this is the reason why the language within the bill is so important. First off, one of the issues right now is stimulus checks. Who gets a stimulus check? Well, if it's not written inside the bill and we don't know, then how do we know how much it's going to cost? One of the issues is Republicans do not want to give undocumented workers a stimulus check. So that would be anybody with an ITIN number would get a stimulus check. Well, from the CARES Act that was passed months ago, they didn't get a stimulus check. And their family members who were on the same tax return didn't get a stimulus check as well. So here's the issue. If you don't have an ITIN number, you would not get a stimulus check. And that is from Republicans. But Democrats, they say anybody with an ITIN number should get a stimulus check because they are paying taxes. Well, that's part of the language. The other thing is, the language would also identify how the funds will be distributed. For example, PPP funding. We can say, okay, any small business can receive funding from the PPP program, which is the Paycheck Protection Program. Well, without the proper language, any business can get this. Well, that's exactly what happened in the last bill, in the CARES Act, that many businesses, many multi-million-dollar businesses were getting money to stay afloat when really they were not impacted by COVID. So that's one of the other things inside this bill is they want to put the language in there saying that only businesses that have seen a 25% decline in their business due to COVID, they can receive funds. Also, the other part of the language is, how are we going to reuse and repurpose the funds from the CARES Act, that $130 billion? That needs to be written inside the bill. Another thing, the language is also needed if Republicans can't completely agree to that $417 billion for state and local governments. Now, the only issue right now, or the biggest issue, is Republicans only want to cover actual losses, which Mark Meadows has stated that is roughly $250 billion. So, one of the things they could do inside this bill within the language is say that we will cover all actual losses, but any additional losses will come out of a separate fund. That's one of the things that's currently being worked on right now. We don't know where they're at as far as the number, but from what I hear is they're getting closer. We are inching closer and closer by the day. Now, with Nancy Pelosi and Steven Mnuchin working together and exchanging documents over the weekend, many believe we are getting extremely close to a deal. Also, with the massive amounts of layoffs looming just days away, it seems like Congress is just now seeing the severity of the situation. Yes, we knew airlines were going to lay off their employees. American Airlines, United Airlines, 32,000 employees could have been laid off on one day, on October 1st. However, they did lay off some, but many were saved, and they were only saved for a few days. So, based on what Nancy Pelosi said to the airline industry was, just hold off, give us a few more days, let us hammer this out, let us get closer to a deal. So, that's what they're doing. Even President Trump, from his hospital bed, decided to chime in. President Trump does not normally jump in on stimulus negotiations and stimulus talks. He has done it a couple of times. However, today, it seems like he is really serious. He decided to put out a tweet that said, "Our great USA wants and needs stimulus. Work together and get it done. Thank you." That's all it said. Like I said, President Trump normally doesn't jump in, but when he does seem to move the needle a little bit. And right now, all we need to do is move the needle in one direction, just ever so slightly, and we can get stimulus passed. Also, Nancy Pelosi feels that with COVID, with the recent COVID cases within the government, it will make government leaders understand just how severe this pandemic is, and no matter how careful one person might be, they can still contract the virus. This also comes on the same day that Mitch McConnell has said that they will have to suspend all floor proceedings until October 19th. And he said all the other meetings will be done, over probably like Zoom or something like that. So we'll see what happens there. But what I can tell you is that there is two different sides here. Let me explain. One health expert said that many government officials have every tool available to them to stay safe, yet they still contract the virus. Here's the reason this is a problem. Most Americans do not have the luxury as they are exposed every day at work. We've been saying this for months. People that are currently working that should be getting hazard pay or pandemic pay and haven't been getting it for months. They're saying, why should we risk our lives being out there on the front lines, being out there providing to the public every single day when we're not getting anything extra? Well, this is one of the issues. Many Americans can't afford to work from home or buy the proper equipment needed to stay safe. This is a real issue, and this is one of the reasons why many believe the $2.2 trillion stimulus package that Nancy Pelosi offered, Heroes 2.0, that is the best offer currently on the table for the American people. It's not too high at 3.4, but it's not too low at less than $1 trillion where nobody really gets any help. So, now, in regards to what the current holdups are as of today, okay, as of Saturday, October 3rd. Currently, unemployment is still an issue. Republicans are considering $400 per week, but they're also considering adding on that additional 5-week extension that Democrats are wanting. Nancy Pelosi would rather have $600 per week, okay, but she doesn't want to cut it off at the whatever, I don't remember how many, 8 weeks, whatever it is. She doesn't want to do that. She wants the full amount. Republicans want to give them 5 less weeks. The other issue is if Republicans offer that $600 per week, it would be for 5 less weeks. Okay, so it's either $400 and you get the additional 5 weeks, or $600 and you get 5 less weeks. One person ended up asking me today, if my unemployment benefit runs out, how will I receive that additional funding once it's approved? Here's what you need to know based on what we know right now. Again, this will come down to the language, but what we know right now is if your unemployment benefit were to run out, let's say October 1st, or actually let's do October 4th, I think that would be the cutoff. If your unemployment benefits run out on October 4th and you can't get any more benefits, that means your last benefit week is the week ending October 4th. So if they do pass a bill and says, okay, you can get the $400 per week starting September 6th, right? You would get the additional $400 per week every week from September 6th until your last benefit week, which would have been October 4th, which would actually be tomorrow. So that would be kind of how it works. And any other week after that, you wouldn't receive any benefits. That's based off of the reports and based off of, in order to get the federal unemployment, you have to at least get $1 in unemployment. So if your benefit runs out, you would not get any additional funds moving forward. The other issue, okay, off of unemployment, the other issue is state and local government funding. We knew this going in. We've known this has been the problem ever since we started. Nancy Pelosi initially wanted $915 billion. She ended up bringing that down $500 billion to $417 billion, but they're still a little ways away. Republicans want $250 billion for state and local government funding because that is currently what is estimated to be the losses for state and local governments. But based on this report, they are willing to increase their budget to $325 billion as long as it has the correct language, which means it would only be covering actual losses the state and local governments have incurred so far. But they would also put in about $75 billion into a separate fund that later on the states can go and apply for as long as they have records that they did lose additional funds. So that is another big thing. Again, it comes down to the language. Another thing is COVID testing and tracing is also being discussed, but from what the reports say is they're very close within the numbers here. And also tax credits. Child tax credits are also being addressed, and it's still being discussed as we speak, but the language is the only issue here. It's not the actual dollar amount. So what I can tell you right now is that tomorrow morning we should see some good information. We should have a good idea of how close Nancy Pelosi and Steven Mnuchin have come over the past weekend or over the past couple of days. My guess is they've made significant progress moving forward, and now is not the time to be fighting over a couple $100 billion. Fighting over a couple $100 billion would ultimately keep, or passing it would ultimately keep more people alive, and it would prevent the economy from crashing further. So again, as I know more, I will definitely keep you updated on all the stimulus talks and stimulus negotiations and how close our experts believe we currently are. So thank you for watching today's later stimulus update and stimulus package negotiation news. If you have any questions regarding stimulus, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. I understand you guys are going through a tough time. Everybody is. So if you have questions, you need some help, just ask your question down below and I'll try to help you the best that I can. So again, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you click that like button down below if you enjoyed today's video. Also subscribe if you want to stay updated, and I'll see you guys on the next one.